What is a cozy game? What makes a video game cozy? When most people think of video games, it's escaping to a fantasy world where you can do things you otherwise couldn't or shouldn't. Fighting zombies or giant monsters, recklessly driving sports cars, whatever it may be. But that doesn't always have to be what a video game is about, and as of recent times, more and more standout games have been really resonating with players as stepping outside of this stereotypical bubble. Games that mean something because they make you feel something, not just because you're necessarily in a competition of whether you win or you lose, proving that there is more to it than just that, and that games can be expressions of a work of art. Cozy games strive to take away this on-edge competitive aspect and create a pure and authentic place to slow down and address the delicate work of self-improvement. A space to deal with emotional maintenance and growth without having to always worry about basic survival needs or everything needing to be a competition. If anything, I have more easy opportunity to go out right now and drive like a Need for Speed, but how readily available are genuine wholesome interactions with humans to be able to learn and practice human elements like empathy and kindness? As much as we may play games to fulfill that desire to do things we shouldn't, what about fulfilling the needs that we should but yet don't get to a lot these days? That is what Cozy Grove, a game and community surrounding it which hold really special to me, strives to accomplish. A life sim game with the usual aspects such as harvesting and crafting, but where your main objective is to help the spirits of very cute and very rectangular bears on a haunted island. The studio behind it, Spryfox, specializes in making cozy games and fundamentally stands behind this premise. And thanks to being a partner in their creator program, I was actually able to speak with the amazing team behind this adorable masterpiece and find out more about what makes Cozy Grove truly special.
So I was really obsessed with this idea of Animal Crossing, but Animal Crossing is not the typical game design. It's a really weird game design. There's a bunch of little tiny pieces that don't kind of connect to each other, and you play over like 30 or 40 days, sometimes longer, sometimes a year. There's all these real-time events. And so for years, I was trying to prototype an Animal Crossing-like game, and I was just failing again and again and again. And then finally, right before Cozy Grove, I cracked it. I figured out, oh, here's how you do the trickle narrative. Here's how you do the economics behind the whole system, so that, like, I pick up a stick and, like, why do you care, right? Like, why do you care about picking up a stick? And it turns out you care because sticks can be used to craft things or gift to people, and there's this whole chain of things that sticks do in the game. And so we figured out the pacing mechanisms, and all this stuff came together in Cozy Grove.
You know, playing the game and seeing how people reacted to the game, and it's like what is going on here? Like, just having the kind of question that a player would have is like, you know, there's this little person and spirits and an island. Why are they here? Why are you helping them? Like, how did you get here? Are you trying to leave? Are you trapped? Or, like, you know, all these open questions that kind of demanded answers. And so we tried a bunch of different ideas, and then we kind of landed on camps as a theme. And then specifically the Spirit Scout thing was like the merger of sort of our witchy spiritual elements in the game, and then like kind of a mundane known thing, right? Because if it's all just like weird spirits that we just invent, we're kind of asking the player to learn a bunch of new stuff about our world building. But if we can anchor it in something like, if you are familiar with like real life youth scouting programs, right, that a lot of this sort of makes sense. So that was kind of, I mean, that's what made it click. Is it like the idea of like this mundane thing that people could understand, and we can leverage as a way for people to understand the game, and kind of marrying it to the kind of the spirits and the witchiness and the purpose, right? Like, you're here to help as a spirit scout.
Keep in mind that our inspirations back in the day were Over the Garden Wall, Don't Starve, and we were like, okay, this is going well. Why don't you try to do something else? Like, if you were to make this game without no rules, like, how would you make it? Try to do something like that. And I did. And I decided to avoid the easy perspective and go for the isometric one that we have nowadays. And and of course that will bring a lot of headaches in the future, but at the same time we are super excited.
This idea of a haunted life sim game was there very early, and it was one of the things that drew me to the game, because the haunting opens up a storytelling potential that can be difficult to get in life sim games. In a life sim game, part of the premise is that you're going to the same place every day, that your neighbors will be the same, that it's steady and constant. When your neighbors are ghosts, you can have that steadiness, that safety. You can slowly get to know these characters, and you can unveil something about them that's fundamental slowly over time. You can go from a story that's funny to one that is a little strange, a little bit sad, a little different, evoking real themes. And you can actually help them through it in a way that feels honest. I love the fact that a haunting idea it's such a wonderful framing for allowing the bears, and then hopefully the players, to move through, and in some cases even move on from, real traumas and difficulties.
And I think that contrast is super cool, and that's something that I always wanted to show the players. Do you know those fairy tales, that super old fairy tales that were meant to be for kids, but they were super dark and treated like super dark themes and topics, and I love that. I wanted our players to expect the unexpected.
Haunting also just does create this element of spikiness, we call it, within the coziness. It's easy in a cozy game to be oversaturated with the sweetness and the coziness and the comfort in a way that might start to feel artificial. I like that the haunted aspect of our game lets us create a bit of an edge that I think lets you feel that the coziness and the warmth is more real.
The game combines this quirky Spirit Bear theme with an adorable 2D art style. There's so many little animations here and there that I will always sit through, as they always make me smile to see. As you help bears and put down lamps, you bring color to more of the gorgeously designed island, with tons of little hidden details which either play into the bears' stories and personalities, or just add that little bit of extra charm here and there.
In the beginning, the idea was to make like a coloring page, like you are basically using watercolors to paint the world. And that's cool, and you could say that's all, and that's fun, and that would be okay. But it was really cool seeing one idea evolve and fit into the game, because soon we had Flamey, and with Flamey, the coloring the world transformed into lighting the world. And now you have this beacon of light that is attracting the characters, and it's like all the different things in the game that were loose suddenly like connect everything together. We didn't have bears in the very beginning, which is surprising, I know. We had spirits. We think about Spirited Away. We had a place full of different kind of spirits from all over the world. They were pretty cool to make, but we wanted something that felt more close to home. When we made Cozy Grove, we were a really small studio, and those bears felt very close to home, and we decided to go and try that, and they really worked. What happened is that now your characters are chunky blocks that are cute, but that they are chunky blocks. So now that you have to adjust the whole world, so you have that chunkiness and that blockiness in most of the assets. So that's why the characters also like influenced the style later on. So yeah.
A unique mechanic of Cozy Grove that stays memorable for many people and stands out in reviews is that the game intentionally limits the amount of time that you spend on it. It works on a real-time system like Animal Crossing, but once you've completed all the available bears quests for the day, you're told that's all there is and to check back tomorrow. For the remainder of the day, you can still continue to harvest, fish, and decorate as you please, but no new quests will be generated until the next day.
One of the reasons we wanted to do this is because there's a lot of research shows that people benefit, like mental health wise, people benefit from pleasant daily rituals, or weekly or monthly or whatever, yearly. Like there's a reason everyone looks forward to their annual holiday, whether it's Christmas or a Hanukkah or anything else, right? Like or Thanksgiving or 4th of July, the reason why, like, oh, if you have a habit of going to the gym 3 times a week, like that habit is super important. Like that's a big part of what helps keep you sane, like, and happy. Like rituals are good. Like at least healthy rituals are good.
We like the idea of a game as a ritual. Like I'm going to pop in and play this game for 30 minutes and then be done, or an hour and then be done. And ideally something that will last, where you won't get burned out on it or kind of binge it, the kind of thing you could play for months or years, as this almost like just a companionable ritual in your life.
You can time skip and change the date and reload in order to keep going, but you're not meant to. And that's okay. It's not pushy like many other games nowadays with daily streaks which make it feel like an obligation and penalize me for missing a day. It's nice to put down the controller and I can pick it back up whenever I want. But yet, it keeps pulling me back in. Because Cozy Grove really does feel like a friend. One that doesn't make you feel sad to say goodbye or goodnight and leave, because you know that they have other things to do in life, and so do you. But you also know there's many more adventures in store to look forward to that leaves you in anticipation of getting to see them again. It gives you this genuine sense of wanting the break, but also the wholesome feeling of knowing that there will be more in store tomorrow, when you're both ready.
This was something that was really important and interesting to all of us as developers who want to put something positive out there into the world, and also felt like an enormous risk during development. Not many, especially the first game, not many games go for this. Many games, I'd say 90% of games are terrified of telling you, that's it for today, you're good. Do a little bit more if you want, but come back tomorrow or come back when you're ready. Unless it's at the end of some sort of like long stream of, okay, we've gotten as much ad revenue out as you want. Like I think for us to have a game that after half an hour or so says, it's okay, there are no more quests, was a scary thing to put out there. And we were so pleased to see that people got that and appreciated a game that meets you where you are and strives to add value to your time as opposed to extract time from you.
I mean, there will always be some people who are like, why doesn't this game let me play as much as I want? And I'm like, because there are 500 million other games that will let you do that.
Cozy Grove ended up with many excellent reviews that praised this very rare element in the gaming world of actually valuing players' time, really driving home how well the game rang with players and press alike. This was also amidst the global pandemic, where there was a particularly big boom in interest surrounding cozy gaming. Now that people had all the time in the world to spend on playing video games, there was an understandable gravitation towards spending time with games that brought them happiness and that sense of human interaction that we were all missing out on. Cozy Grove and Spry Fox were right there with them, but not afraid to remind them that there is a whole nother world of games out there.
And actually, the start of the pandemic really hit us hard, even though we were remote, and so we're a remote studio, so it didn't hit us as bad as it did the people who were based out of an office. But even for us, it was difficult because people who at Spry Fox have, for example, kids, and those kids were suddenly not in school, and the parents of those kids had to figure out how they were going to take care of these kids who were suddenly home all day long. And so for a while, it was actually quite scary because it was like, uh-oh, we're way less productive, but we're still paying just as much in salaries and benefits. What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to get this game done on this budget that we have? And it was touch and go for a while there. It was actually pretty scary. But again, thankfully, we were able to put it out. And even though it launched in rougher shape than I would have liked, like it launched, people seemed to be enjoying it. Apple was happy with it, so they kept paying royalties on it. So we were able to keep working on it. And so like, I kind of feel like we squeaked by the skin of our teeth. It was a rough start, but it worked out.
After following up with 4 new seasons updates and the new Neighbors DLC, Spry Fox announced in June of 2022 that they were indeed working on a sequel to Cozy Grove, with hopes but no promises to finish it by the end of 2023. A few months later, they put out an announcement that the studio had been acquired by Netflix, however that this would not impact any ongoing development efforts. This would come as a disappointment to some fans, a number of which didn't shy away from voicing this opinion. No studio wants to willingly alienate players though, and underneath the surface, becoming a part of Netflix meant more to Spry Fox than most people may realize. The past few years have not been kind to the gaming industry. With layoffs and shutdowns left and right, even with way bigger players in the space, it's unsurprisingly a major threat to just about any small indie developers. A large number of great minds behind some of people's favorite and most innovative games are now out of work and may never find a job in the gaming industry ever again. Money doesn't grow on trees, and just as everyone else finds it increasingly difficult to get by and keep the lights on, they are no different than all of us. A great blog post on their website by Dave really brings this together, in that they really didn't want to have to take away any of the aspects that made the original Cozy Grove special. No microtransactions, no daily streaks nonsense. The funding by Netflix is what made it possible to keep Camp Spirit true to what Cozy Grove always was, and in the gaming space at the moment, it's a feat to be recognized, even if it does come at some compromise, and it deserves a chance. If anything, it's thanks to Netflix that Camp Spirit was able to exist at all, that us Cozy Grove fans are able to get more of the game that we love. Like the one quote that rang with me as a kid that I continue to live by:
50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
In June of 2024, the game officially launched on iOS and Android, and players got to take their first steps into the world of Camp Spirit. A new setting with new bears to meet, yet with some familiar faces. The team was able to implement a ton of additional features and improvements to the game, such as more abundant storage, a power washing minigame, and the ability to add friends who you can send and receive gifts from. Yet while still being the same Cozy Grove we know and love, both on a fundamental and technical level, allowing for fans of the original to feel right at home, all the same gameplay mechanics, adorable animations, and even all the same control methods despite being a mobile game, which I showcased in my previous video on Camp Spirit for launch day.
First of all, I'm very happy that we got the chance to have like more personalized environments in this new game. Like back in the Cozy Grove days, we had like environments that were like procedurally generated, so they always felt kind of different, like suddenly some things were placed in other places that you don't remember, but they didn't progress with the character. Some of them were more general theme, like the camp theme for Charlotte, but they weren't so personalized. So now we really focused on having super personalized spaces for each bear that progress with the story and evolve. And you start like seeing hints to their past or in little elements in the game.
When a new bear joins your island, that's a really special moment. And one of the decisions we made in Camp Spirit was to have less bears, but to give them more story each. So the goal was really to create a little ritual where like bringing a new bear into the island feels like you're going through this like greeting them into the island and preparing them to the island and helping that transition from being lost in the spirit world to like taking a concrete form. I also like there's some players who are like, oh, like whatever, it's just a little gameplay, but I know there's some players who are total lore nuts and want like every little detail, and I really like the idea of being able to like give you like a little tease of what are some themes and like some speculation, because it does take quite a long time to get to know the bears and to get to do them. So I wanted to give people just like a little bit of insight into a bear so they can be like, start asking themselves some questions.
I would say I love them all, of course, but Sophia is really cool. Like the concept and everything. Like I worked with Jamie on that, and it came along so nicely, so smoothly. It's one of those designs that you have zero trouble with, and that was amazing. And it's so different from the rest that I really love it. I love Bunch as well. I love, like, for example, Kumari as well. She is a stack of letters, and you would say that makes sense. She works as in the postal office, basically, so it makes sense. But it goes further. Kumari is this super closed-off character that will take some time to warm up to you, but all her worries, the things she wants to say, like keep piling up like a stack of letters, and one day they will burst, and oh boy, will they burst. And that really goes well with her personality and her story, I think. And I love Pandango's reveal. That's one of my moments of this game. Like I live for that moment.
Every day I'm grateful for Snugula that we actually invested in getting a snail rig in the game so that we could have a whole playable character who slithers around. the companions themselves were inspired by the ducklings, actually, which was a CG1 spring event thing where the ducklings would come and follow you around. And there was something really nice about not being alone in the island when you're doing your little tasks and having like little buddies. And so that's where companions came from. It was like, okay, how can we make them as a helper to the helper? And so there's lots of like different inspirations for companions. Of course, we had to do a dog because CG1 didn't have a dog. But I love that Snail was the runner-up. In the first game, when bears had like emotional moments, it was reflected with comic book pages. And like everyone loved the comic book pages, but truly it was like a big art investment to get them. And it's something that you would kind of see once. And meanwhile, you have the comic book page and then like all the stories happening underneath and you're just kind of clicking through. There's not a lot in the game that's like emphasizing like the storytelling that the bear's sharing. And so going into the second one, we're like, how can we make this a bit more interactive and like bring the player more into the memory and the recollection of this big like emotional high point for a bear? And so that's where flashbacks came in. And it was another one where it started in one way and then Noemi came up with this concept art of the bear telling the story by a fire and we all got really inspired, and Chris, our programmer, like got to making it happen and making it more flexible. It unlocked things like having the cool intro with the bus. Like that is actually a feature that came because of how we had built the flashbacks. We were able to reinterpret it to be able to do a cooler intro to the game. And so there's so many examples of things in the game where we're like, okay, this is cool from the first game. How can we make it deeper? How can we make it more interactive? And how can we really invite the player deeper into something versus just introducing something new for no reason?
People don't even remember this anymore in many cases, but like the previous game launched in kind of a rough state. Like it was like it had a lot of balance issues, it had a bunch of technical issues, like, but the balance issues in particular are what I remember. There was just a lot of issues that made it frustrating to play. And then like slowly, like over a period of like half a year after that, we smoothed those things away and ended up in, and now you have the thing that everyone knows and loves, you know, which is Cozy Grove. But Cozy Grove it didn't launch in immaculate form, right? It launched in rough shape. So we got to benefit from all the lessons we learned from making Cozy Grove when we made Cozy Grove Camp Spirit. And so I feel like Cozy Grove Camp Spirit launched in just much better shape than the original one did, because we learned for over literally years and years of work, like what actually is it that the community wants? How do we deliver that in the most effective manner?
We tried to do more with the theme of community in this game. I think as it grows, you will see more connections and more of a deeper story about empathy and community. I hope people get a chance to play through and spend some time with us, and that story resonates for them.
And it's community that is often an overlooked part of what can really make an experience around a certain video game special. Ever since the beginning, Spiritfarer has always had their community with them, and with the success of Cozy Grove, this sense of community only continued to grow massively in size. The fans of the game, but also the team at Spiritfarer, who actively engage with their fans, actively take in feedback, and do truly appreciate them.
For Spiritfarer, the way that they design their games is designed to take in player feedback, because their investment in a relationship with the players is a core part of the DNA of the culture of Spiritfarer as a studio. Ergo, it becomes part of their games. But what does make Spiritfarer special here is how open they are to receiving that feedback. And this can always be hard, even if that's your intention from the beginning, because developers put so much of themselves into their art, but you crave that from the player. You still want to know what they think, but you might not always be ready for what they say. But really building a community goes beyond just making sure the game is doing well, and it's how we build relationships and connections with each other outside of the game, and how we start to build a culture around the players of the game in a place like Discord or Twitch.
I keep seeing people write things in like Reddit or Discord or Twitter or whatever. They'll say things like, oh, I was going through a really hard time when I discovered this game and it helped me get through. And then the hard time is all sorts of horrible things, right? It's, my parent died, or, whatever. I was isolated in the pandemic, or, there's just over and over and over all these different things. And I've seen countless comments like that where people say, I was going through a hard time, all different types, and this game helped me get through it. So that always makes me feel really good. I've seen a bunch of people say things like, I haven't felt like I've seen myself represented in a game. This game is the first time I felt like, for example, people who are wheelchair users are like, they were like, oh wow, like I don't remember a wheelchair user being positively represented in any game that I've played recently.
The most important part is that it actually found this group of people who like cared. And to me, that was the magical, amazing feedback. It really gave me a lot of energy. This is the game industry is a brutal place. Like there's like 30,000 layoffs this year. It's just a very, very hard place to make anything. And having people care about the thing that you made is just it's a balm to the soul.
Spiritfarer as a studio is very devoted to staying small. The leaders have wanted to keep the team under 50 for quite some time, and that's why I only just recently joined. Dave himself was overseeing the community until Cozy Grove just got too active, and that's when he brought on Pocket Sized Perfectionist. Shout out to Pocket Sized Perfectionist, genius of Cozy Grove, really lovely human being, really understands the human spirit. Must give a shout out to Pocket Sized Perfectionist.
When you spend a lot of time on a game like Cozy Grove, it's hard to know whether it has made an impact, whether it is reaching people, and the way the Cozy Grove community interacts with us and tells us about what they appreciate and what they would like to fix. It's generally really positive and healthy, and as a game developer, I do not take that for granted. I really appreciate that the player community treats each other and us with kindness in a way that is rare in games.
Every game is like a city, but you build the city or you build a town and it's just empty and there's nobody in it. And then you put it out there, and then people come in and they build their lives in it, and they're like talking to each other and they're like referencing it, and suddenly like games are like, they're not static. They're like a place where people live and where people like enjoy themselves. And just the fact that people have done that, I appreciate it so much. It makes me want it. Like it is like I've been doing this for 30 years, which is a crazy number. And it makes me want to do more. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, because it fills me with this energy where I'm like, oh my God, I want to make things better. I want to give people more spaces to live within that are wonderful.
That's definitely what made it grow so much more on me, and is why I'm here talking to you right now. I had loved the game in itself, but it wasn't until I got involved in the community after making my first essay-style video on Cozy Grove that I realized just how amazing of both a player and developer community there is behind the curtains.
I think it's really sad that not everyone who loved the first game has guaranteed access to the next one. I think that's sad. And there's things that are out of our control. That being said, I do believe that being part of the Netflix platform also makes it available to people who aren't gamers. I think a lot of people who would love Cozy Grove don't know about games or don't think of themselves as gamers, but can really resonate with that. I went to a knitting circle and we were talking about what our jobs were, and I mentioned Cozy Grove, and one of them just lost her shit. She was like, I love Cozy Grove, I played the game so much. This woman is not a gamer, she's a knitter, a crafter. She doesn't do much technology, but Cozy Grove was a game that got her.
At the end of the day, Cozy Grove and Spiritfarer the studio set out with a pretty clear-cut goal that is right in their motto: making happiness. Recent times have proved better than ever just how many egregious examples in the gaming industry can continue to pop up of sheer greed and lack of morals, from big names that, for many people out there, make up their entire worldview of what gaming is. And that is why I'm really thankful that such great cozy games exist, as do the amazing people who make up the passionate indie studios behind them, who still care about bringing happiness to the world, even if it's not the most profitable venture. Games and studios like this are vastly overshadowed in the industry and deserve more recognition.
As someone who's always felt my feelings deeply and cared a little too much, I greatly appreciate being able to make a game where that's a strength and not a liability. All art is a conversation, and so it's just a pleasure to make for them.
Thank you for taking the time to come into the world that we've created and and sharing your experiences back with us.
We just feel really lucky, and we wanted to. I would love to take this opportunity to say thank you to anyone who's watching this for like being the kinds of people who make us want to make games for you in the first place. You know what I mean? Like that matters a lot. It really does.
A video game can be what teaches us some extraordinary skills, but sometimes a video game can be what teaches us what we may not realize are the most extraordinary of them, the skills that make us better as a person, that there's value in taking time to ourselves to unwind and relax, that we should be empathetic and understanding towards others, that helping someone, even just that little bit, does make a difference, that all those who are lost deserve kindness. Never thought I'd actually get to use this for some reason. You actually made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I really do appreciate it. And I'd appreciate you letting me know down in the comments if you enjoyed it or learned something along the way. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. I mean, you can if you want, but this is just my channel where I make videos on basically whatever I feel like making videos about. And for a long time now, I wanted to make a long form video on such a topic, especially a video game that I am genuinely passionate about. And just so happened that Spiritfarer presented me with this opportunity, possibly a once in a lifetime, to be able to do this about Cozy Grove, and for that I'm really thankful, and really thankful for them and the amazing community behind this game that made it grow on me so much more than even the first time when I played through it. I truly did come for the view and stay for the friends. Links to both the games and Spiritfarer's website will be down in the description below, which keep an eye out on it if you are as curious and intrigued as I am about this upcoming non-violent, wholesome MMO they're currently working on. This video was made possible by partnering with them through the creator program. However, it is not sponsored or even monetized. I really don't get anything out of this passion project that I put together in my free time. So if you got something out of it, then I would appreciate you letting me know, because if one person got something out of this video, then it made it worth making. Anyways, till next time, hope you enjoyed, take care, and stay cozy. Bye-bye.